I used to have eczema, so it ran in my family, or they say it runs in your family, even though it's really a lifestyle that runs in your family that causes it. But I used to have eczema patches that popped up in the crevices of my arms and things of that nature. I used to have some acne issues. I used to have real bad allergies, nosebleeds, and other things of that nature. So as I started to take certain things out of my diet, once I realized that dairy was one of the main causes, especially in the African American community, that causes eczema and other issues, I started to give those things up. I read a book called Milk, the Deadly Substance, and I forgot the name of the doctor who wrote it, but it was a book about this thick, and it started talking about how it causes earaches, nosebleeds, and mucus, and all those things. I was like, wow, I'm getting all those things in my body. So as I gave those things up, my skin cleared up. You would never believe that I ever had eczema. You would never believe that I had acne problems, and allergies was just a real bad thing for me. So I realized that once I was giving those things up, all those things stopped happening to me, and energy-wise and mental clarity was just came with it. And at 43 years old, I still can do things as if I'm 20, but I feel better than I've ever felt before, even at 20 years old, physically, by going into the lifestyle. So it's been a very great move for me.
Physically feeling better. Just kind of the day-to-day after eating meals, not feeling bloated, not feeling tired, and just kind of all around sluggish. So that changed tremendously when I removed animal products, and especially dairy, from my diet. So that was huge. And I would say also some mental clarity, which was a really wonderful surprise I wasn't expecting. But the biggest part that impacted me in the greatest way was just this knowing that I was making a difference and not contributing to animal suffering 3 times a day when I was choosing my meals. So that was the biggest kind of emotional and integral part of my decision making and sort of living my life day to day that was and has been the most meaningful.
So because I've been vegetarian and vegan for so long, I never appreciated the health benefits of it, because when you're 16 years old, you don't have all the bad things happening anyhow. So it wasn't until I became older, and I have never been sick in my adult life, and I can't ever attribute that to veganism, because perhaps that would have been the case otherwise, which I'll never know. But I always feel good, and that's one of the reasons I was happy to share in this project, because I want other people to feel as good as I have. So I love sharing with others the benefits of veganism, because not only are you aligning your values with your lifestyle, but in that interim, you also become potentially healthier and happier.
The first thing that I noticed physically after going vegan was that for the first time in my life that I could remember, I went an entire calendar year without a cold or a sinus infection. And I'm sure that was because of the dairy connection. A lot of people have trouble with dairy and respiratory problems. But far more than anything physical, even losing the 60 pounds that I thought I would be stuck with for the rest of my life, was that once I went vegan, I felt clear. I knew that I couldn't save all the animals. I knew, and I know today, that tremendous suffering takes place every day that we live and breathe. And yet, I also know that I'm not directly contributing to that by my food choices and my clothing choices. And even though it will be a much better feeling when we can all say, hooray, the world is vegan, it feels good for now to be able to say, my world is vegan.
You know, when people talk about things maybe changing, for me, sort of nothing has changed. And that's the way I want it. Because when I was 20 years old, I felt good, I felt healthy. And to be able to feel that way when you're 30 and 40 and 50 and 60 it's a good thing, because for most people they don't have that luxury. They gain weight, their cholesterol levels come up, they acquire medications, and they lose energy. So if nothing happens, that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, the main changes I noticed were that physically I became even much healthier. I went vegan quite young. I was still in my 20s. I have to say, now that I'm in my late 60s, it's been a good 45 years. I've never been to a pharmacy. I've never been to a drugstore to get anything. I have nothing at all. I mean, no headache pill or stomach pill, no Viagra, no anything. I mean, no right guard. It's been liberation from the medical system. I haven't ever had health insurance. I haven't needed to go for any kind of procedures or anything, or checkups, whatever. I just stay out of the medical establishment. The thing is, to take responsibility for my own health, it's been fantastic. And then besides the physical health, there's the psychological health and the spiritual health. And I think this is the most important thing. When I stopped eating animal foods, it was like this weight went off my shoulders. I could feel that now I was in alignment with my true purpose. This is the reason I'm here on this earth, is to awaken out of the delusion of being a fundamentally separate self. And so I think what veganism is, it's the prerequisite, essentially, of an authentic spiritual path, because there's no way we can be authentically striving for the highest loving kindness and caring and awakening, and at the same time thinking, well, I'm not going to think about what I'm putting this animal through. I'm not going to think about the people that are starving because I'm eating these foods. This is violence. It's causing violence and eating violence, and it's unnecessary. On every level, it's been, I always say, the smartest thing I ever did in my life, besides marrying my wonderful spouse Madeline, was going vegan. It's a tremendous boost to every level of health.
I think being vegan really does change you physically, mentally, emotionally. It's very incredible and sort of profound. A lot of people talk about feeling lighter or feeling like lighter, not physically, I'm talking, psychologically. And I felt that a lot too. I just felt physically more vibrant, more energy, and I need the energy because I'm doing physical labor for most of the day. But I think there's a lot of cultures that believe it's not just about diet and sort of nutrition, the facts about fat and cholesterol and all this stuff that you might feel a bodily or even a spiritual change. If you study it enough, there's a lot of cultures that actually believe if you take in someone into your body who is subjected to so much harm and torture and suffering, you ingest that terror and stress and anxiety. And it's really hard to discount that when you feel the kind of lightness that takes over you when you stop eating these beings that have been so harmed and so tortured for their short lives. It's got to affect you to eat someone who has been through that. So by choosing not to do it, it's a really profound difference. I think for me, the thing I've noticed the most, besides the physical changes and emotional changes, but psychologically, just the act of going vegan, I have looked at the whole world differently. It just cracks everything open, everything you thought you knew about how society was functioning. And for me, that's a psychological release as well, because I really didn't realize how unconscious I was about about how our society is founded on the exploitation of others. I'd intellectualized it in a classroom, but I didn't emotionally really absorb the impact of that on myself and on everyone and on the environment. And so I walk through the world differently since making this choice. And I've become a deeper social justice activist, I think just an activist in general, and a participant in the world and in trying to see the end of oppression. And that means many things to different people, and it's a lot of different avenues and different ways of moving through the world that will achieve that. But for myself, it meant opening a sanctuary of my own after going to work at others. My whole life has changed. And physically, the demands on me, the emotional demands on me running a micro sanctuary are intense, but you do it with a joyful heart. And I wouldn't have been this person who could do that until I went vegan.
If I think back on before I was vegan, it's a little bit hard to think back on
You know, like, oh, physically, emotionally, spiritually, how did I feel back then? It was 45 years ago, so it's a long time. But I do know that I was kind of, a little bit, I was floundering in the world. So mentally, it was really wonderful to find something that meant something to me, that I was passionate about. And it really gave me my life's purpose, you know, is to create a more compassionate world. So mentally, it was great for me. My confidence built. Physically, wow. I mean, I can't imagine. I was young then, so I had a ton of energy. But I think typically when someone then, later in life, you know, you hit 65 years old and, you know, your energy isn't quite what it was, or I haven't experienced that. So that's pretty wonderful. Can I say it's definitely from being vegan? I'd like to say it's definitely from that. You know, it's no scientific study that I've conducted on myself, but I think it has to do with that.
One of the things that is very clear to me is that if I had not been plant-based, I don't think I would have been able to make it through undergraduate school and possibly even med school, because you know, I came from a poor area of Oakland, and my first 3 years in undergraduate school, I worked 40 hours a week and went to school full-time at night. And the first 2 years I did that riding the bus and public transportation, which means I wouldn't even get home till like after 12 o'clock at night, and have to be right back up in the morning at 6 a.m. in the morning to get the bus to work. And then once I actually decided I was going to go to medical school, I had to quit my full-time job because the only way I could get my pre-med recs was to work in the daytime. So I started working in a frozen foods warehouse at night. So I was working 3/4 time. I would do 3 graveyard shifts overnight during the week, get off at about 6 or 7 in the morning, go home, shower, change, and then go straight to school so I could be in lecture. And there's no question in my mind I wouldn't have had the energy or the mental clarity to do that if I had not been plant-based at the time. Being plant-based not only changed my life, but it helped me become the person I am and the doctor that I am, and is without question the healthiest for all human beings. I've seen that also in my clinical practice. I've been able to get people off their diabetes medicines, get them off blood pressure medicines. I've met people who've been able to cure late-stage cancers, cure themselves of autoimmune diseases like lupus and others by going completely vegan and eliminating all animal foods. So the potential benefits from becoming plant-based are enormous and enormously powerful if we would simply eliminate these disease-causing animal foods from our diet that our bodies clearly are not designed to consume.